Rakate Yahweh.
Rakate Yahweh.
Rakate Yahweh Shai.
Rakate Yahweh Shai.
All right, now we're just gonna roll right into it. You know, this is a continuation from the lost tribe. You know, the historical proofs of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. You know, because it's hurting a lot of guys' feelings. You know, yeah. But we have to tell the truth. And the truth is that the people that are on this side of the world or that were here before the Europeans came here are Israelites. And you got a lot of guys out there that's upset and all pissed off and mad, but so what? You know, we got to teach the truth. That's right. And that's the bottom line. So, we're going to keep continuing on with the history. And if brothers have any scriptures or any other documents, that they want to bring out to further, this information, they could do it. And I know, as of right now, there's brothers out there that's putting lessons together that are proven even further that the so-called indigenous tribes that were here in the so-called Americas, the so-called Indians, that they were Israelites. And I mean, there's so much information that's coming out. It's like it's impossible to give you all in one sit down. Yeah. So the Spirit has us going into it and bringing out more and more information, and it's just coming out, and it's coming out like a flood, just like this. The serpent flooded us with lies, as Elder Gabar always like to say. We're flooding the serpent with truth. All right, so you can start with that, brother.
Okay.
The information.
This is the
and this information here goes back to what we were saying, Lord Kingsborough, and he's the one that compiled into a big volume of books. I believe it was 8 or 9 volumes of all the so-called Europeans that came here and gave accounts of the Israelites, or it gave accounts of the so-called Indians here on this side of the world that did a lot of customs similar or the same as the Jews in Jerusalem. So go ahead, brother.
It says here, a curious parallel of the Jewish and Indian moral laws may be found in that chapter. It says in that chapter of the 3rd book of Garcia's Origin of the Indians, which he has entitled Como los Indios guardaron los preceptos del Decalogo.
Right.
How the Indians obeyed the 10 Commandments.
And that, man, that's plain to the point. And these are observations that these heathens did. Go ahead.
Right, and it says volume 6, 331, page 331, Los Luna Nueva Mexico.
Right, so Los Lunas, Mexico, New Mexico, basically what that is, that's a place out there in New Mexico, not Mexico, but New Mexico, where they found a stone that's called, they call it a Decalogue, because a Decalogue, Deca is 10 and log is word. 10 words basically meaning the 10 Commandments, because that was like a guideline to the rest of the commandments that the Most High gave to Moses. Now, they found a stone in New Mexico where basically you had Israelites, so-called Native Americans, and of the other tribes, and they carved on those stones, they carved the ancient Hebrew or the Lashon Kodash script, and what they carved out was the 10 Commandments. And that's proof, further proof, that the people that's here are Israelites. Because how did they know how to do those things? How did they know how to write the Hebrew? How did they know how to speak the Hebrew? How did they know how to leave those certain relics? Why did they find ancient Hebrew writings on Native American Indians, epitaphs or tombstones?
Right.
How did they know to find that? Why? Because those people that were here are Israelites.
If I may say this,
yes,
too,
brother.
And there's something called the Back Creek Stone.
Yep.
That was among the Gadites, I believe, among the Cherokee. I believe it's probably supposed to be, I believe, Tennessee, if I'm correct. But the Back Creek Stone is the scholars photographed it upside down. When you turn it right side up, it says Abala Yahawada, for the land of Judah.
Which means mourns Judah.
Right, which means it says, excuse me, it actually says Arataza Yahawada.
Oh, Salakia, yeah.
Which means of the land of Judah.
Right.
Now, the scholars that photographed the Back Creek Stone, the brother could put it in post-production. I don't actually have a picture of it here with me. they photographed it upside down. They said, oh, it's just some crazy Indian dialect. Them motherfuckers knew well enough that that was Hebrew. Paleo-Hebrew, as a matter of fact.
As they call it.
Not the Assyrian form, or what you call the Aramaic, but it was Paleo-Hebrew.
Romans 8:16, bro.
And it was basically Arataza Yahawada. Even Glenn Beck brought that out on his show on Fox 5
He got
back
fired.
maybe in
He got
2009.
fired right after that.
Not too long after
Yeah.
that, yeah. Yeah, we finish up, brother.
And he went into the archives of the Smithsonian down in D.C. and he pulled a lot of books out of their basement that they had locked away. And he did a live newscast on Fox 5, Glenn Beck, about that, about the Back Creek Stone.
Right, and you know what? The reason why there's not a whole lot of relics and books of the so-called Indians that were here is because when the Spaniards came over, mainly the Spaniards and other Europeans, but it was mainly those Spaniards, they came and basically they burnt all the books and everything that they had that gave credit that these people here were Israelites. And the reason why they did that and they falsified information was because they didn't want the world to know that these people were Israelites. You know, because when Christopher Columbus came over here, what you're going to get later on in the lesson, when Christopher Columbus came over here, he bought a Hebrew interpreter, and there was other Hebrew speaking people that came with him on the voyage. But he brought one particular Hebrew scholar or Hebrew interpreter with him. His name was Luis de Torres, and the reason why he brought him with him was really to speak to the people that were here, because they knew that they spoke the Hebrew. And then we're going to get, Lord's will, we're going to get into the book of James Adair, because James Adair brought out a lot of different Hebrew words that the Native American Indians of North America were speaking, Gad, and the other tribes, and we're going to, Lord's will, we're going to go through all of that just to keep pushing the fact that these people here are Israelites.
If I may, brother,
Yeah,
I got
brother,
something for you. Here in James Adair, since he mentioned James Adair, and the brother Elder Ramlab so vividly mentioned about how the Spaniards destroyed a lot of records and they hid a lot of the information and falsified it. Now James Adair here in this book here called History of the American Indian by James Adair, page 71 and page 72. Down at the bottom it says, Observations on the Origin and Descent of the Indians. The very remote history of all nations is disfigured with fable and gives but little encouragement to distant inquiry and laborious researches. Much of the early history and antiquities of nations is lost. James Adair said much of the early history and antiquities of nations is lost, and some people have no records at all, and to this day are rude and uncivilized, yet a knowledge of them is highly interesting and would afford amusement and even instruction in the most polished times. To the most polite, every science has certain principles as its basis from which it reasons and concludes mathematical theorems and logical propositions, give clear demonstrations and necessary conclusions, and thus other sciences. But history and the origin of tribes and nations have hitherto been covered with a great deal of obscurity. Some intent historians were ignorant, others prejudiced. Some researchers into antiquities adopted the traditional tales of their predecessors, meaning the people before them, even though the information they was looking at was saying otherwise what their predecessors said.
That's right.
It says some intent historians were ignorant, others prejudiced. Some researchers into antiquities adopted the traditional tales of their predecessors, and others looking with contempt on the origin of tribes and societies altogether exploded them without investigation.
Hey, because you know why? Because the white man is a motherfucking devil
That's
that the
it.
Bible speaks of. Hey, read this real quick, brother, if you want to make a point on that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
read this real quick.
Hey,
All right, this
it made his own-
Isaiah chapter 25, verse 7. It says,
Get that.
and he will destroy in this mountain.
So the Lord said that He, which is the Most High,
Yep.
will destroy in this mountain. What mountain? America. Because what happened prior to all of this? Prior to all of this, the so-called white man through the Renaissance, what did he do? He lied about every motherfucking thing. So coming all the way down to the Americas and the origins and the records of the people that was already here, he lied even about that.
Yeah.
So the Most High said that He will destroy in this mountain, America. Go ahead.
The face of the covering cast over all people.
The face of the covering cast over all people, because when they came over to this side of the world, they saw that they were Israelites, but what did they say? No, these people over here, they're Indians. No, these people over here, they're descendants of the Chinese. No, these people over here, they're descendants of the Japanese. Because what they did was they took a covering and they cast it over those people because they actually saw the fact that these people are Israelites.
That's right.
They saw it, and they couldn't believe it because there was certain prayers that these Spaniards, these white people would make and said, God, thanks for, in Spanish, of course, God, thank you for not making me this, or making me a savage, or making me an Indian, or making me black, or making. And they was like, wait a minute, these people over here, the same ones we asked the Lord, we thank Him for not making us that way, they're Israelites. So they had to fucking change that. You got to read that again, my brother.
Yes, sir. It says.
Isaiah 25 and
Yep.
7.
It's like I turned the page.
That's all right.
Yep, 25 and 7. It says, and he will destroy in the mountain.
And this mountain.
In this mountain, the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations.
Because all nations today, unless they're on the top, all nations today don't know who they are.
That's right.
But these nations today, some of them, a majority, a major part of them, know that the people that are here in this side of the world that were here before the Spaniards or anybody else came over here and the Europeans came over here, they know that they're Israelites.
Right.
And they're not telling the world that. They're hiding that. You had a scripture, brother? No matter of fact, that this brother, you could bring it out since you
Job
got it.
13 and
Job
4.
13 and 4. Real quick, and then you can bring out the other scripture you're bringing out.
Okay, cut.
Job 13 and 4. You can bring it out.
Oh, Job
'Cause,
13
yeah,
and
'cause
4.
he got
Okay, yeah. All right, Job.
You're almost right there.
Job 13 and 4. Right? It says this.
That's why you can't let the white man tell the tale, because you know why? There's a saying, you know, a quote by Voltaire, who was a historian and whatever else he was involved in. He said this. He said, "History is the lie commonly agreed upon."
Right.
So in other words, when a nation takes down another nation, if they're not a righteous nation, they're going to distort history.
Right. Yeah. Lie.
And they're going to bring out lies. And it also says that in the protocols of the learned elders of Zion,
right.
that they would take all history that was detrimental to themselves and push it to the side, and anything that made the so-called heathens, as they call them, the goyim, look bad, they would push it out.
Now, if I may
You got to
say
read
this,
that, you know, make your point.
if I may say this, now with that being said, that's why back in Isaiah 28, the Lord wrote this thing in a mystery, line upon line, here a little and
Right,
there a little.
that's right, that's right.
Because that's what they do. In other words, they try to hide stuff and make up their own history. So this being as a mystery, they put it out there because it was as a mystery, and a lot of people, believe it or not, they didn't understand it. But the Lord knew that He was going to wake us up and bring out this mystery in the last days. So that's why we able to break this thing down and reveal the true history and not lies that were agreed upon.
Yeah, because
Now-
those
Yep.
lines, line upon line, here a little, they got to come out and they got to link up the right way.
Yeah, like a puzzle. Yeah.
Because if you can have 1,000 pieces to a puzzle,
Come.
and you could just put stuff together with the puzzle, and it might fit certain places, but if the puzzle ain't put right, it ain't gonna fit together. And that's what the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua has us doing, taking the pieces of the puzzle and putting them together the right way, the way the white man don't want you to see them.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So read that, brother.
That's right. Now this is Job 13 and 4. It said, "But ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value."
Boom, that's it. You are forgers of lies. You are all physicians of no value. Basically, whatever you say is a forgery. It's a lie. It's something that you made up. Why? Because the main purpose and intent of you so-called white people was to lie. Matter of fact, somebody give real quick Revelation 12, I believe it starts either at 14 or 15, about the flood. Your main motivation and your main thing that you did was you pushed lies.
That's right.
And the reason why you pushed those lies, because you figured, see, you so-called white people, especially beginning with you so-called Jews, you so-called elites of this society, you think that just because you push out enough lies, that is enough to push away the truth.
Right.
And it's not like that, because the truth is like a buoy. Now a buoy floats on top of the water.